You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Since 2009, HRN podcasts have been exploring the wide world of food, beverage, and agriculture. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. We've been making cheese in Wisconsin since before we were even a state, which may be one reason why we win so many awards for it. It's what happens when a whole state dreams in cheese. Find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes, finger on the pulse, Snacky Tunes.
Hello and welcome to Snacky Tunes. I'm your host, Darren Bresnitz. Today we sit down with two of my favorite people in the LA culinary scene, Joe and Ari of Found Oyster and Queen Street. We chat about both restaurants, the inspiration between the Charleston influenced menu at Queen Street, and what it's like to have two restaurants going at once. And then we dig into Ari's new cookbook, How to Cook the Finest Things in the Sea. It is a must-have for anyone who wants to have seafood adventures at home, in the kitchen, as a raw bar, grilling, whatever you can imagine. Great primer and a great way to think about sustainability when you're cooking fish. And then we dip into the archives when Prima, Brooklyn-based singer-songwriter, stopped by the studios. She plays a bunch of songs from her debut EP, and this was released in the summer of 2017. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Snacky Tunes here on HRN.
Kisses like bullets, soap flavored kisses. But for the kisses, for the kisses, for the kisses, for the kisses. Let go.
Ari and Joe, great to see you both. Welcome back to Snacky Tunes. How you boys doing?
Good, thanks, man.
Yeah,
Glad
thanks for having us back. It's a pleasure.
You know, The last and first time I had you on was February 2020. Anything happened in the LA restaurant scene since then? Anything?
We went to SAP right after for breakfast. Right after. I remember that day really well. Nothing much has happened, but
I blacked out. I just woke up a couple weeks ago. I don't remember SAP, unfortunately.
it was good.
You know, I don't want to spend too long on the bad time. And I keep thinking it's like, well, we moved past the pandemic and then moved past the strikes and now it's the fires. But there was this one night where you guys were doing the fried chicken buckets at Found. Ari, you were in the back. Joe, you were at the window, and it was like pouring rain. And I remember driving over from Silver Lake and getting fried chicken from you when we were like in a low point ourselves and being like, man, these guys are really in it for the community.
That's been my job for a long time, at the window since a teenager. Yeah. And we had a few people working with us that time, at that point too, like Meredith and Jess and Rory and Mike and everybody it certainly wasn't a super fun time. We had a good time, but
Sure.
But yeah, it was fun. It's nice to see people. That was a weird time because you weren't really sure who was coming up to the window. Everybody was like masked up and everything. You had no idea who anybody was. Then you kind of like figure it out as you went through. But yeah, still like part of our regular ship.
It's interesting. Like we didn't, once the shutdown happened, we took about a month before we reopened with that idea of fried chicken and everything. And we were so new. And, not that we weren't becoming a part of the community, but we didn't feel that what we were offering for the sit-down experience of Found was what would help build the community at that time. So we went with the more comforting fried chicken buckets and all that stuff. And, it was a hit for what it was. It's not like we were making money off of that, but at least we were participating, And for all the hard times that we, obviously all went through, but specifically for Found Oyster, there were some rough moments, but I do kind of believe that the pandemic and the shutdown and us having to kind of pivot and build a boat deck really kind of transformed us into what Found Oyster is today. Like, I really don't think it would be the same restaurant if the pandemic hadn't happened. It's not to say they wouldn't be great or, there wouldn't be, whatever, a certain dish on the menu, but I do think it's part of its identity, at least when we think about it.
Yeah. I mean, without the deck, it was it is the restaurant itself. The inside is like a very jewel box, limited in how many people you can get through. And that outdoor patio just turns it into twice the size,
Exactly.
Pretty much. So, we're out of the pandemic. People are sort of eating again. Did you have the idea for Queen Street before? Did you always know it was going to happen? When did you start thinking about it was time to do a second restaurant?
Well, originally, right before the shutdown, 3 months into Found Oyster, we were potentially going to take the space next to Found, the mini mart, not the vegan shop that's doing very well. Not that the mini mart wasn't, but we were looking at maybe assuming that lease and doing another concept there. And then that all fell through with the shutdown. So, not to say that we were actively looking for something else right away. We had plenty of things to worry about otherwise, but it kind of was a space dependent thing. And this space became available. I believe Holly and Adam, our other partners, were showing this to kind of some other restaurant folks from out of town that was, they were thinking about moving to LA. And when that wasn't appealing to them, they kind of looked at us and said, hey, this is kind of a great building. Like, should we take it? So that kind of started the path,
It's so amazing how many times a restaurant is like, oh, we found a space.
Yeah.
Like, what concept do you have? No, we have a space. We're going to back into it that way.
It's honestly the best thing. I mean, that if you have a bad lease or a bad space, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's not going to be, you're just starting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Now, I know that you're from Charleston and you're worked at one of my favorite spots, Leon's, which I had no reference to. I was down in there for a shoot, and I was like, cool, like fried chicken, oysters, like that sounds awesome. And then I went in and I wait, might be the best place I've ever been to.
When we visited before we opened Queen Street, Adam and I basically bullied Ari into taking us to Leon's every day, just for like a quick dozen of blades, a little bit, Pilsner, Kellen, those dimpled mugs. Like, it's so good. So good.
Yeah. It's, how do I explain it? It was sort of a similar feeling when I walked into Found, not like for the first time when I was humming. It's just that same, like, oh, I'm in a special place. And I don't know if the space can be recreated, but I can catch the vibe in different spots. And I feel like you took that vibe and was able to put it also into Queen Street, which is really tough to have two spots in the same city that have a very similar, like, tapped in feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, one of the things that we're very fortunate to have great partners that in our partnership together, we kind of are able to build these spaces and make them feel whole. I think these things do take time. This day we opened Queen Street, it wasn't, full of every piece we were ever expecting. We're still working on it today. We're adding a liquor license, which we should have any week now. We're going to add cocktails to the program. Like the restaurants are always an evolution. But I think, 777 square feet of evolution at Found doesn't take a lot. So that kind of felt dialed in pretty quick. I'm kind of rambling. I kind of forget the beginning.
No, I mean, it just, yes, there's an evolution, but sometimes the doors open and people are like, I see what this is. I know where it can go. Hopefully I can have a cocktail here one day. But I mean, I remember being at the bar early days and just being like, this feels so well worn.
Found Oyster is just like everything's next to you. It's like we could open that place with just Ari and I. And then hopefully we don't have to also do like everything. Like we had 3 other people, but like when people are sick, it was just like we had no one to cover. It's just tiny. Everything you're like, oh shit, I got to get this. And you're like, oh, it's right there. You know what I mean? It was very controllable, very easy. Queen Street it's just bigger. There's a walk from the kitchen. There's all kinds of stuff. You need more people to fill it up. It takes more time to like put an imprint on it and to get it going. We're a year and a half old, or 19 months old, I guess, and we're about to reopen again, pretty much.
Yeah, but I mean, we all know that given where restaurants are, the ability to sell liquor and cocktails is a huge lift. It's sort of almost, and the pandemic showed us what the majority of profits are. Sometimes restaurants are just really great bars with an incredible food program. And if you can survive without having a full cocktail program, it means you must be doing something right because people are buying tons of food. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. But, back to Leon's, what a special place.
What a special place.
I mean, honestly, it is one of those things that like, every time I go back home, I still go back there. It's like, it's my grandparents' favorite restaurant. Like there's something about it, that space, specifically that, because it is so big too, it's the opposite.
Huge. Oh, it's monstrous. It's monstrous. I mean, it's also Charleston, what's square footage down there. Let me ask you a question. So when you're taking inspiration from a city or direct restaurant, and you've been very public about like where you've taken the inspiration, where do you feel comfortable being like, it's homage, it's inspiration, up to like, we can't do that because then we're just literally opening up the restaurant?
It's a good question. I mean, I think that there's a lot of things to talk about there, not just like someone else's restaurant, but so much as culture, and things like appropriation on so many levels. I think there's some personal kind of thing that goes into that, right? It's like, I riff on dishes of things that I've done at other restaurants, but, those are things that I feel good about because I helped create them at that restaurant, or I know the chef, very well. And like, there is no like harm there. I mean, food is supposed to evolve. Like it's not that precious, like, and just because something happens in Charleston doesn't mean it shouldn't happen in LA. Like everyone should be able to get it, So I don't really hold things, in the, like this kind of like realm of preciousness, but that's also to say that like, things that deserve it should be given their due, like we don't want to just like say, hey, this is the Queen Street thing when it came from somewhere else, right? Like we're going to give credit where it's due.
No, and I get. Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, if you went to Cape Cod, all the restaurants are the same anyways. So
Sure. That's fair. I mean, listen, I remember, and I won't name the two oyster bars who went at it in New York, but there was a very legendary New York dispute of you copied my bar and you copied this thing for me. And I was like, these are a dime a dozen in New England. Like, I don't know what you two are fighting about, because are we just ignoring a bunch of states like 4 hours north to you? But I digress.
It's just ego, It's like
wait, whoa. There's ego in the restaurant business.
Yeah, everyone's burden, All
right, listen. I want to take a quick break, and then I want to get into the book, How to Cook the Finest Things in the Sea. It's gorgeous. I love it. I have a lot of questions. It's a lot of fun, and I think it demystifies a lot of people who are afraid about cooking fish at home. We have a song from the archives here on Snacky Tunes on HRN. Welcome back to Snacky Tunes with two LA legends, Ari and Joe of Found Oyster and Queen Street. And now Ari's got a new cookbook out, How to Cook the Finest Things in the Sea. My question is always, one restaurant isn't enough, two restaurants isn't enough, now you want to write a cookbook? I mean, at what point are you just loading it on, then you go, as my old roommate used to say, a towel in a pool can only get so wet.
Oh, wow. What a saying.
Yeah.
Listen, I think sitting still is tough. And, I think, we have built some amazing things, and we have so many amazing people working for us. And, I just think that I was lucky enough to have the opportunity and the space to make this book. And turning it down would have been a disservice. To be quite honest, this wasn't my idea, but it was presented to me, and it was something that just seemed like there's no reason we shouldn't make this. So my co-author Noah Galutin, who you may know, and has written some great cookbooks with Jeremy Fox and Kevin Bloodsoe, among others. He's the reason that this happened. I mean, he really wanted to create something together. And so, it must have been nearly 4 years ago now that we started the deck for this, to be able to pitch it to publishing houses. It's like, it is a little bit of personal pain to get this all done, but it's worth it. And it took 4 years. So, it's over time. It's not just cramming this into 6 months of, R&D and writing and photography and all this stuff.
It's a lifetime.
It is. And, I was fortunate enough to really bring so many creative friends into this process too. Between Alyssa, Zach, who does all the, Alyssa is our partner Holly's sister, and she is responsible for all the gear that we sell at the restaurants and all the cool flyers and the websites and the menus. And so she helped illustrate a good deal of the book, as well as my good friend Justin Chung, who photographed the book.
Gorgeous photos. Photo of the raw bar, it took around page 70, 72, something like that. I almost just slammed the book down and went over to Found.
That's the goal. You got it.
I got it. I really love the dedication, because you do shout out your parents, but then you also talk about how they believed in you when you had the crazy idea to move to become a chef to LA at 20 years old. Why was it so crazy at the time?
Well, I think that in 2001, whatever that was, the idea of not finishing 4-year college and moving to a city where you don't know anybody, to go to culinary school, to figure out what that means was not ideal for two people who spent their life in the medical field, but they were supportive and wanted me to be able to do something that I loved. They knew that I hated school and hated, I just didn't have any real interest in much else. So they let me do it. Not that I really needed them to let me do it, but it was important that they were, supportive of that to me.
That's so crazy though. Just think about that. You're 20 years old. You're just I'm just going to move to the other side of the country. I did it when I was 22.
I mean, I didn't do it until I was 35,
Wild.
So one of the best things about this book, because I think of all the things outside of maybe a salmon fillet, which is, pretty standard issue and those at-home cooking kits, people are pretty intimidated by cooking seafood at home for a variety of reasons, which we don't get into. Let's just say big eye, intimidated everywhere. And I love how you wrote a cookbook that's thick and full of knowledge, and the number one rule is do less. Why is that so important for people to understand that about cooking seafood at home?
Well, I think that rule comes out of the way that I was taught, but as well as the way that I teach people and the way that I see people cook, not just in the restaurants, the cooks that we have working with us, but also the people that I see. I go to a dinner party and see people cook seafood at their house. And that kind of timid misunderstanding of what seafood is and how you cook it turns into overaction in the cooking process.
Sure.
And like, people get so worried about undercooking seafood when it really should be the opposite way around. And the more you futz with something, the longer it takes to get color on it properly, and you end up overcooking it, for instance.
Yeah. Now listen, I learned how to open oysters on a cooking show long ago. And I think it's one thing to cook seafood at home. It's another thing to get people to be comfortable with eating raw seafood at home. I'd loved, and I'm taking your word for it because I have never done research on the fact that there was sushi grade, but now that you're telling me there's no such thing as sushi grade is one of the biggest mind blowers of all time, because I thought that was an actual thing. But to my point is, there is so much mystery of eating raw seafood at home. How do you encourage people, if they want to do it, to like get into it in a gentle and maybe safe way?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing you should do is look for something that you find appetizing.
Sure.
Don't go outside of the box. If you are a tuna person, then you should be looking for the best tuna you can find to eat raw. And maybe branch out and try one other thing at the same time. Maybe it's a scallop, maybe it's a piece of snapper, or a piece of mackerel. If you really want to get start to get into the mid level of diversity. But the best thing you can do is talk to the person you're buying this stuff from.
Yeah, trusted source, really. Yeah.
Because if they can't answer the questions that you find important, then you have a problem. And certainly if they can't vouch for what they're wrapping up for you, then you also have a problem. Now, there are also some great companies that are popping up online that you can buy stuff from. And, that's all to say that I haven't really used them much, but I do see what they're doing, and I do. I
think both of you know a guy or a family member who can get you the best seafood in the business.
Yeah. But for instance, we use Island Creek. Island Creek helps grab mom and dad's oysters from Joe's parents.
Shout out mom and dad.
They have a marketplace. You can go to islandcreek.com and you can buy oysters. You can buy seafood. You can buy tinned seafood, and they'll deliver it to your house, which is pretty epic.
You know what the other thing is, yes, for quality and sourcing and everything, but humans were coastal beings for a long time.
Sure.
So, we ate seafood. That's why we can eat raw seafood. We've evolved to be okay with that. And we can't eat raw chicken or raw pork or whatever, because we spent all our time on the coast before moving inland.
I never thought about that. One of the things that I like about the book, and you guys have talked about this at the restaurant, is this diversification of the seafood you eat. The ones you listed, mussels and scallops, honestly, if that's the only seafood I had to eat for the rest of my life, get me some butter, get me those two things, I'm fine. But how do you balance that of diversifying, but then also people come in and go, I want tuna, I want salmon, or when I'm at home, I only want to cook these three fishes.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult. I mean, there's the business side of things that, cannot be unseen. And we have to make decisions. We take things off the menu all the time, things that people come back for and are like, why the hell is that shrimp burger gone? And I'm like, Joe has to break it to them that they were the only person that ate the shrimp burger,
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. But, we try and do our best to use those things. And then, on the other side, when we do need to buy tuna, which we do, we're buying from trusted sources and, boats that are run off the American shore and are, catching things properly. So, in a perfect world, we'd have a scallop, seaweed, and mussel restaurant, and oysters and clams too, right? Like one of the reasons that we're talking about those in the book, as far as like their contribution to the ocean, is not only what they do for the water, just like oysters and clams, filtration and things like that, but it's also how those things are specifically farmed, right? Like those things can be farmed and have next to zero impact in the ocean, because they can be vertically farmed rather than having to sit on the ocean floor and take up space, or, whatever, kill kind of the natural order of things. Yeah. So
there's really no more efficient way to get protein while having a really low carbon footprint than shellfish, big time. Even think about oysters. Oysters are sequestering carbon from the water to build their shells. Like,
I mean, what was it? The billion shell project?
The Billion Oyster Project.
Billion Oyster Project. I mean, when you read about the coastal waters in New York in like the turn of like 800s, 900s, how many oysters are there, how much cleaner it was, and now how they're gone and how polluted it is. It's like a hand-in-hand type of thing.
Plus no electricity, no food, no feed, no water, just the water that's there. How they're farmed. They just grow as a part of their habitat.
Yeah.
Shellfish.
Yeah, I mean, there's part of that project isn't just growing oysters. It's also just creating the reefs with old shells, right? So that the whole ecosystem can thrive and grow together. It's like our guy, George, in Morro Bay. Remember when we saw him, Joe? He was talking about like the eelgrass growing back, like after the oyster farm started up there. And it's just
otters and white pelicans coming back.
Yeah, I really wish that someone would be doing these kinds of things in the waters off of Southern California. I mean, it would be so beneficial. I mean, especially in the Bay right now from all the pollution from the fires. Like, oh my God, seems like no better time.
Not to mention erosion too. You know what I mean? Just having those there, just slow erosion. Even just like Morro Bay, the eelgrass, great. That's just a little bit of friction that the water has to go by every time now. It slows it down a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think if people haven't seen what even like 400 or 500 empty oyster shells look like it's a lot, and it can help protect, and it's just bits of the sea returning home to help balance out the ecosystem.
Everybody, there should be bivalve farms along the entire coast, everywhere around the country.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
So the book has some great recipes for those things that we deem are like the most sustainable for the environment. But there's also, there's tons of other things. I mean, everything from canned seafood to things that are long cooked. We teach you how to poach your own tuna if you want to make your own tuna sandwich rather than having to buy canned tuna, right? So the kind of the way we broke it down was by cooking method. So it's not just a bunch of raw stuff, even though that is the first part of the book and my favorite. I think it's the most fun.
I'm telling you that photo, I was like, let me just, my knees buckled and I was sitting down. I do want to end on one thing, because you wrote the cookbook for the 20-year-old version of yourself, which I imagine is the same guy who left his parents' house and moved across country.
Correct.
What is the thing that 20-year-old you wishes you knew that you know now? And let's be honest, you're only 25 and you look great. So,
Thanks.
Yeah.
Molly, you hear that? It's a good question. This is a therapeutic question, I think.
Hey man, it's therapy on here.
Yeah. In regards to food, I think that I would tell myself to lighten up a bit. When I first started cooking professionally, I was at Providence. I was 21. It was an intense environment. It was cutthroat, man. Like you came with your knife sharp, ready to cook, and everyone around you was definitely your friend. They were also, never really knew. So I took it very seriously and was, it's not to say that I was a bad guy, but I could have been a little bit nicer to some folks. And, I could have
sharp elbows,
not to
close
say
quarters.
I don't want to have cared any less about what I was doing or the food, but I think that, there is a well-rounded understanding of what makes good food. And part of that is, your direct association to your environment around you while you're cooking. So,
I mean, if I could tell, I think that's what it is. I think you come out, especially, and this is tough to understand for people who were working in any sort of creative field, whether it's media, the culinary arts, music. Like 20 years ago was a very different mental approach to like what I think the current landscape looks like and what people are like more open to. And I think a lot of people, no one was harder on themselves than themselves, and just wanting to show up and do the good work and make an impression. And things have changed, but I can only imagine what the LA community food scene was like, especially when there wasn't as many fine dining options, like nothing as close to Providence, maybe Melise, or something like that back in the day.
Yeah, when I first started cooking, it was like Providence, Melise, Water Grill, Sona.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of like West Hollywood stuff, that like seemed to be a big deal, but honestly really wasn't. I mean, there was like, there was that guy from Miami that was here. It was a different scene for sure.
It was
like L'Orangerie was around.
Oh yeah.
And
what was Luke's out here too?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. Luke closed not that long ago. It's like 2020, I guess. 2021 maybe? I don't remember.
Wasn't that long ago.
That place was amazing.
Yeah. Guys, congratulations. You're going to see me at one of the restaurants sometime soon. Also appreciate the fundraisers you guys did for everyone with the fried chicken nights. Let's do 2 plugs. Let's do restaurants first and then where to order the cookbook second.
Found Oyster, Queen Street, Found East Hollywood, right on the corner of Fountain and Edgemont. We're taking reservations now.
No.
Plenty of room for walk-ins too, though, 50-50. You want to plan ahead, you can, but it's always spontaneity encouraged as well.
Not when you got 2 kids. I'll tell you right now. Reservations are Found. You're speaking my language.
Yeah, I was going to say we're definitely going to see at Queen Street, but now maybe Found. But Queen Street liquor license cocktail program coming in from Eric Alperin of The Varnish. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have martinis, oysters. We got an awning. Queen Street's going to take off through the summer for sure.
Oh my gosh.
That's
oysters,
right there
martinis.
On, York Boulevard in between Delia's and Scats.
And the book, shout it out.
Yeah. So How to Cook the Finest Things in the Sea, coming at you April 1st. You can pre-order now through my website, racolander.com, or Now Serving LA's website, where you can get a signed copy. But it is wherever books are sold.
Shout out the publisher.
If you call Artisan Books is the wonderful publisher. And if you come into the restaurant and buy one, and I'm there, it's personalized, Yeah. Write you a poem.
Awesome.
Talk about fishing.
Everyone, come in with your name pre-written on a sticky note and just slide it to the chef. He's not trying to learn how to spell everyone's names. Congratulations, guys. I'll see you soon. We have another song from the archives and then a live performance here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
Darling, I was your safety home. There was no bed to call to make. I could have been, but you always want what you cannot have. You pushed me away just to beg for me back. No, 'cause you always want what you cannot have. You push me away just to beg for me back. And darling, I'm here for you. I could be here for you. We what you always want, what you cannot have. You push me away just to beg for me back. No, 'cause you always want what you cannot have. You push me away just to beg for me back. And darling, I could be here for you. We could be more than friends. There could be more to this. I could be.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. There's a reason when you think of Wisconsin, you think cheese. Cheese is a huge part of Wisconsin's history and future. In Wisconsin, the state of cheese, the tradition of cheese-making excellence began 180 years ago, before Wisconsin was recognized as a state. Immigrants traveled to settle in this lush green hills of Wisconsin, bringing their cheese-making traditions with them. These storied skills, combined with the freshest milk available, created a cheese-making culture that is uniquely Wisconsin. Wisconsin's 1,200 cheesemakers, many of whom are third and fourth generation, continue to pass on old world traditions while adopting modern innovations in cheese-making craftsmanship. Find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
This episode is brought to you by Plugra European-style butter, crafted for those who demand precision and exceptional results in the kitchen. With 82% butter fat and a slow churn process, Plugra gives you flakier crusts, fluffier cakes, and rich, melt-in-your-mouth pastries, because great baking starts with great butter. Unlike standard American butters, which have only 80% butter fat, Plugra ensures the ideal moisture and fat balance so your recipes turn out just right every time. That's why professional chefs trust Plugra and home bakers love it. Plugra's slow churn process creates a smooth, creamy butter that gives dough a soft, pliable texture, making rolling, folding, and laminating effortless. Whether you're perfecting a buttery pie crust or layering a delicate croissant, Plugra helps you bake with confidence. Experience the difference for yourself. Find Plugra in stores near you or visit plugra.com. That's Plugra.com.
Rose.
Hey.
Hi. Good to see you.
Great to see you.
It's been a long time.
It's been a really long time. I was just saying to Matt earlier that I don't remember how or when exactly we met, but I know it was a long time ago, and it was in New York somewhere.
Yeah.
Summertime?
I think that
maybe?
Anything that's like longer than 8 or 9 years, I just attribute to a round.
Yeah.
And also to having a twin brother, both either together or singularly, generally was out 7 days a week forever, so
yes.
We just know everyone.
Yes.
But good to see you.
Yeah.
I always find it amazing when I reach out to bands I like yours, and be like, oh, wow, I know the people behind them.
I know that person.
So, your band.
My band.
Is really great.
Thank you so much.
And it's really interesting because a lot of your lyrics, Prima, have to deal with the kind of intersectionality of things of not being so black and white and living in the gray. Mm-hmm. How did you evolve into this mindset, and how do you run your lyrics through the filter of being in the gray?
That's a good question. I don't know that I have ever experienced life as black and white, though I've been in many scenarios in which external forces want it to be. And so I think there's like a constant narration that's happening in my head to just try to figure out how to live it, and how to try to walk those lines. And then the result is a lot of the lyrics come from a stream of consciousness place that I then have to go edit many times.
Once they come out, like, how many revisions do the lyrics have to go through?
Oh, countless. I can't tell you how many.
Is it a point where your band members are like, 25 is good, Rose? You're like, you know what? I really think on 37, that's when we're really going to start to get to it.
Lucky number 37.
Do they continue to evolve after they're recorded?
You know what? I feel a certain loyalty to the actual like recorded fact. So once it gets to that point, I really try to not mess with it too much. I can't think of an occasion in which I changed it after the fact.
But the meaning might evolve, or they might mean different things to you.
The meaning will constantly evolve, and I think I'm glad that I feel true to a belief that I think once the song is out there and it's being received by anybody else, it's no longer my meaning, my association no longer has meaning. It's what is you, the audience, is receiving.
But when you're on stage singing, I mean, there is some meaning that is to you of the time in which you laid it down. Does it take you back into that? Does it always put you back to that mindset?
Yeah. Actually, so I think we were connected for Snacky Tunes via Jamie Fry. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Jamie Fry, I met Jamie Fry years ago. He saw a basement show that we played down in like Bensonhurst or something, and he wrote a review of Prima, and he mentioned psychodrama in the review, which is something that I had never thought of before, and it was just one of those great occasions of like someone kind of like calling you out on something, or finally giving you the language to talk about what you're doing. I have pictured countless exes, lovers, like points of contention, like out in the crowd while I'm singing the song. And that is something that does change from time to time. Sometimes a song starts about one person and then suddenly it's about somebody else.
There's never been an instance where you're imagining someone and they're actually in the audience, is there?
Maybe I shouldn't say.
We don't name names, but we need to hear stories.
Yeah, that may have happened. That may have happened.
Did you know they were in the audience when you started singing, and then you saw them?
Yeah. There was definitely a time where I was very frustrated with a situation, and also an individual. That individual certainly happened to be there. And I remember after the fact, the individual said to me, "Wow, I've never seen you so angry."
Did they know that the song was about them?
I think they figured it out.
This is like the most vague, specific story I think we've ever heard. You use like pronouns and nondescriptors. Mm-hmm. What was the song? At least the name of the song.
The song is called Master.
Oh man.
Yeah. And there is a lyric in the song in which I say, "Just like you, buddy, I am faking it."
Wow.
Yeah.
Did they just go sit down when the song was over? Or were they just like pounding whiskey in the back? Or did they just take the shaming, the secret shaming, and just stood there and enjoyed the rest of the show?
No, I hope that they got something out of it somehow. Maybe one day, if they haven't already. I don't know. Maybe they feel flattered I wrote about them, you know?
I mean, I guess it always depends the context. I mean, I guess if you're like a narcissist, it doesn't really matter the context of the song. It's just that a song was written about you at all. Yeah.
Some people are like going for that, man.
And I know that the band has been around for a few years now. Has the gray become more gray as you've had access to an outlet and lyrics and like the defining, and the middle become more middling?
The middle, well, yeah. I mean, I think in terms of just like an intellectual evolution, like the gray feels more and more relevant all the time, right?
What's a good example?
Well, politics, what isn't political, right? But I don't know, like sexuality, for instance. I feel like in my early years, there was a lot of black and white being taught to me, and I wasn't ever able to like live with it completely. And so at first it felt like a battle, right? Which is what I think a lot of the early premium material is about. And now it's just like, okay, well, like sexuality, gender, even like how you like live your life financially, how you have integrity. I don't know. As I get older and as I grow, it just seems like black and white almost seems like fallacy. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, illusion. It just seems like something that's written down on paper.
Yeah.
I mean, I struggle with the black and white, and it's never all or nothing.
Yeah.
Even though you sometimes feel that it is, it never is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it can be really useful in certain periods and certain moments. It's like you're detaining children at the border. That's fucking wrong.
Yeah, that's very clear.
That's pretty black and white.
That's very clear.
Yeah, and so like there is utility, but I find that a lot of times, especially in terms of like personal life and inner life, it's great.
And a lot of your lyrics also do with feminine energy and the explosion of it. And I'm curious about living living in the middle of like what it means to be a feminist today, and how that influences your work, and how that impacts the stage performance and what you say.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm a self-proclaimed like survivor of internalized misogyny. You know, like I absorb so much self-hate, and that is still something that I expect to like kind of grapple with my whole life. And I do recognize that comes from like multitude of outside sources that I have been permeating and growing, shifting for years and years. Yeah, I don't know. It's almost like I feel like the music that I'm creating is just like an ongoing inner monologue of coming up against these things and figuring out how I feel about them. So, and I am a woman. I identify as a woman, she, her. Yeah, that's me. So like it's through my lens, and I'm a lady. So yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine it otherwise. I don't think I've ever written a song from the perspective of a man. And I will say lately I've been prioritizing like my interest in female perspectives. And I like that there's more and more of them. I never felt like a minority as a person in the world or as a musician, but the more I look around, the more I see that women are underrepresented, but I see that it's a growing population, and it's really exciting. It's really cool. And I definitely am biased. I'm like, want to know what women are talking about.
Can we hear a song?
Yeah.
What are you going to play for us first?
I'm going to play Altar. I'm going to play Altar. This is a new song.
Great.
Yeah.
Here we go. Prima live on Snacky Tunes. you mentioned that you're now prioritizing the female perspective. How has Prima changed you as a person and a lyricist since its conception?
Well, Prima gave me an outlet to speak and tell stories, and before then I hadn't had one. So it's I feel like it's made me a better person to have a creative outlet. There's a place that I can go to put uncomfortable feelings, vulnerability, anger, passion, things that don't necessarily always belong in certain circumstances. So yeah, I mean, not to like make a case for music as therapy, but like it definitely has, it's brought a lot of people into my life. It's made a better life for me.
Where was it before Prima?
Before Prima, it was a tangle of trying to figure out how to meet other people's expectations and win approval of other folks. This was the first time I created a space for me.
And how would Prima, it's just you today, but there's 2 other band members.
Yeah.
How have they influenced it, and how have their perspectives kind of helped shaped the outlet and the output of the work?
Well, I've been super, super blessed to work with a bunch of different musicians in the context of this project. And so, like, every person along the way has, like, shifted my gaze radically, whether it was Butch Maragoni, who was the first drummer I ever played with, who was just, like, such an intense physical creature that, like, I went from having these, like, little, like, do-do-do songs to just being like, oh, my God, I can roar physically in every way through these instruments and through my voice. And he elevated me to a whole other space, right?
I feel like we all need someone to teach us how to roar.
Yeah.
Like, give us permission, like a good balance where someone's just like, you can roar.
Right?
You got this. And
right?
You're like, oh my God, I can be so much louder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Isn't there like a form of therapy, like primal scream therapy or something?
Sure. If there isn't, then it's been done.
Yeah.
Or that like very bad scene from Garden State where they just scream into the void.
I mean, have you ever screamed into the void?
I don't know if I can ever consciously say that I've screamed into the void unless it's been just like I've lost my keys at the end of a drunk night, but that's not the same. Have you screamed into the void?
I've screamed a whole bunch. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I remember once this can I curse on this show? This motherfucking city was getting me so like out of my mind one winter. I was like so cooped up and crazy feeling. Remember, it was like there was snow all over the ground. It was
Prima, no outlet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is what I had to do before Prima. Put on my running shoes in the snow, ran over the Williamsburg Bridge, yelling the whole time. Like, there wasn't like I got to the top and I stopped and I screamed Garden State style. I was just running and screaming. Yeah.
And like no one, and everyone's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, no, it does.
Doesn't
it make sense?
It does. I mean, I can imagine that like 9 people be like, what the fuck? And one person be like, I want to date that girl. I want her in my life.
Yep.
I saw this woman running on the bridge screaming and I must find her.
Wait, shit, man. Maybe I should do it again and see if it attracts a lover.
Loves running, screaming on the bridge. Yes. Not at the apex the entire time. That's pretty good lung capacity. Yeah. Well, you got to train, right? Train. So you mentioned your first drummer who gave you the permission to roar. What about the other bandmates?
So I worked for a period of time with a guitarist named Jessica Ackerley, who like exposed me to a world of jazz guitar and just like more experimental, more daring guitar playing, and that really like opened my eyes to the possibilities of the guitar rather than just like power chords, like building a song but not thinking about the actual notes being played. And since then, since I worked with Jessica, I've always loved working with jazz guitarists because they're nerds, man, and they're real good at what they do, and they practice all the time, and they're so smart. So I've played with a guy named Frank Rathbone, who has a band called Sick Tick. Right now I'm playing with this woman, Katie Banastoni, who is a beast, and she's amazing. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's the other wonderful thing about being a songwriter is you get to like keep on collaborating with the coolest people, and then they become part of, a family.
Can we hear another song?
Yeah.
What are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play a song called Susan, which I feel I need to preface by saying I have lifted these lyrics from the journals of Susan Sontag. And I don't know that I have permission to do that, but I have contextualized them in a mood, which is the song. I've named it after her. It's for her.
I think as long as you cite your sources, it's totally fine.
Right? I haven't recorded or released this song yet. I feel like maybe when I cross that bridge, I will figure out how legal this is. But until then, I'll just play the song. And it might give things away a little bit, but this was from an entry in her journals from before she left her husband and came out as a lover of women.
Kisses like bullets, soap flavored kisses. But for the kisses, for the kisses, for the kisses, for the kisses, let go.
You have some new events coming up.
Yeah.
That are going to be salon style that talk about the intersection of poetry and music.
Yes.
Will it be live performances and live poetry reading, or will it be more about theory and form and how they intersect?
It's gonna be both. No, hi folks. We're in a little fishbowl. People eating pizza.
Yeah.
We're
all the time.
Yeah.
10 years of people watching us, or us watching them.
Is it comfortable for you now at this point? Yeah. Okay.
The best is when little kids come up and like run in the window.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could they can't hear us, can they?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, I could play them a song. The salon style moment is going to be happening with the Sound Shop community. It's this rad group of, it's led by a Yale alum who's super, super into all sorts of kinds of music. He loves bringing different musicians together to just have moments of performance and then conversation amongst like colleagues maybe you never realized you had. So his name's Ak, and I got together with him and decided that music and poetry and the intersection of how that plays out in different types of forms would be a really fun thing to explore in an evening. So we're going to have musicians who are heavily like conscious of poetry and their songwriting, and then I think we're also going to have a couple of poets read with some improvised music happening at the same time. So it should be full of conversation, which I'm hoping to like spark and also like be witness to, because these are like questions I think about all the time, but that I don't have any. I don't think that there's any answers to any questions about the intersection of music and poetry.
I mean, they're so aptly joined. Is there a specific feeling or intention you want people to walk away with at the end of these series of events? Not how it'll happen, but just an emotion or...
I'm hoping that in this moment, I can create a moment for people where they feel like there might be some like brethren around, like, oh, here are some more nerds who are interested in like the same things that I am, because I feel a lot of times when I'm in the like DIY rock community, Brooklyn music community, I find myself surrounded by people that I see as like really talented musicians and musicians and people who have been studying music their whole life, playing music their whole life. And I came to music through a more circuitous route of studying writing first. So I feel like sometimes I'm a writer's musician and sometimes I'm feeling like lonely. I'm like, where are my people? So maybe it's just a self-serving opportunity for me to try to make some friends. I don't know. But I feel like anytime I meet someone, a songwriter, like Katie, for instance, who's playing guitar in Prima right now, she has her own project called Katie the King, and she's hyper involved in a poetic process. And meeting her and hearing her work was just so heartwarming to me. I'm like, oh, there's someone else who is thinking about this stuff. So
weird to feel alone in the city.
I mean, when are you not feeling alone in the city?
There are times.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I guess. How do you not feel alone? What makes you feel less alone?
Well, the people in your life.
Yeah.
And also I think just finding community, like I guess existing a part of like heritage or the work that I do or just friendship.
Yeah.
I feel like when you move here, it's very lonely. I think like the city is isolating in the day to day.
Yeah.
But I think that there are more connections here than I would say in other cities that I've been to.
Well, right. And I know that your brother moved to LA. Mm-hmm. This criticism of New York that you're raising is exactly the criticism that I hear of LA all the time. Like, it's one of the most alienating, lonely places unless you have folks who can like pull you into the fold, right? Is like, how's he doing out there?
He's great. He just had he and his wife, she did a lot of the work. she did most of the work. He was there in the beginning. But they just had a baby girl and happy and just, settled in. So
your uncle.
Uncle.
Oh.
Yeah. And they have a good community. But I don't know. I think that in this, particularly in New York, it takes a while to find the people that you connect with.
Yeah.
But when you do, they've also had like a similar struggle to be like, so when you meet them, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like we've known each other for 2 minutes and 10 years.
Yeah.
Even though you've just met, because like in the same way that you just said you met Katie, it's like, wow, I've just been doing my thing. And then when you meet, you're like, I understand your entire language and being.
Yeah. No, it's so nice. The city is so beautiful and it's so full of so many people. And I think a lot of times it's also like, it's intense and it's exhausting and you might feel the need to like protect yourself. But whenever you do go out and branch out, we're a city of misfits. So many people have fled here from so many other places. So many people grew up here and are like sticking it out here. It's just, there's so many people here. There's so many people to befriend and get along with and do things with. And just, I don't know. I'm such a hermit. I want to be at home, like reading books and writing songs. And if I do too much of that, I'll go nuts. It's like an effort to make myself get out.
You have to live in the middle.
to live in the middle of the gray.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We want to make sure we have time for one more song, but where can people find you, listen to your work, watch your videos, which are super rad as well and really fun, and find out about your salons?
Bandcamp continues to be the place that I post music, new
love
music.
Bandcamp.
Yeah, right?
They're the best.
Can't go wrong with it.
No,
they're doing the best work.
Yeah.
So Bandcamp is always a great tool for me and a great place to go, prima.bandcamp.com. I also tend to post weird, somewhat illicit videos on occasion on my Instagram, and that is also a place that I'm sharing information. So that is at Prima Sounds Like. But otherwise, yeah, stay tuned. There's going to be a new record and lots of fun stuff happening later this year and early next year that I don't feel totally privy to speak to.
That's fine.
But those are two places that people could go to find out more and hear
Perfect.
more. Yeah.
Well, big thanks to Christopher Cronin for coming on and talking about his new cookbook. And thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of Snacky Tunes. What's the name of the last song?
The name of the last song, and this is the newest song, is called The Witness.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll see you all next week.
I know you got it coming, so too do you. You know you can't swing that axe without it swinging back to you. I'd like to say I wouldn't wish it upon a soul, but some of us have earned a little more cosmic judgment or whatever you call it. It's a hand mouth you kiss. It's a stone in your shoe. It's knowing just what you did. The calm is coming for you. I wanna be a witness. I'm gonna be a witness. I'm gonna be a witness. I'm gonna be a witness. I wanna blow like the wind that whips your skin.
We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, Snacky Tunes.
Snacky Tunes is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.